Hello and welcome to HT's weekly talk show, The Interview, and our special segment, Reaching Out. Watch web series Delhi Crime and Chhaya Sharma comes to mind, the cop who cracked the controversial Nirbhaya case in less than 24 hours. Chhaya Sharma may not be a Shefali Shah, but her grit has inspired many. The Nirbhaya case brought her into focus, but that is not Chhaya Sharma's only claim to fame. She has cracked many other cases, including Ponti-Chaddas, and raided several brothels. We have with us Chhaya Sharma to take us through her life and career. Chhaya Sharma in this edition of HD's weekly talk show, The Interview, in our special segment, Reaching Out. Welcome to the show, Mrs. Chhaya Sharma, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
Web series Delhi Crime has returned with its next season. How does it feel to have a serial inspired by you?
Actually, the season 1 was inspired by my work on Nirbhaya case. The second season is highly fictionalized. So the season 2, they've copied the format, but the same Vartika Chaturvedi and everything. And they've copied the style and all. But the story is not inspired by me.
You handled the Nirbhaya case. What are the takeaways and the bitter lessons you learnt?
See, the biggest takeaway for me was that I'm only answerable to the court of law. And however long the journey is, never give up, the long due process of law to a quick fix, extrajudicial killing or something. 7 years later, when finally they were hanged, maybe, I could look in the eyes of the mother and say कि देखो मैंने justice दिलवाया आपको और सही तरह से दिलवाया. It's not like the कि आपने फटाफट गोली मार दी या कुछ कर दिया या भागता हुआ दिखा रहे. So I think to that extent I've justified my work.
What were the bitter lessons?
Sometimes you feel really lonely and nobody is there, no hand holding is there. So at those times, I think it's only your professionalism, your skills, your previous hard work, your credibility, all that helps. So the lesson is that for the youngsters is always build your credibility, your work, your professionalism, work on that. Because किस दिन आपको उसकी ज़रूरत पड़ जाए, you never know. And I think what got me through a lot of crisis during that time was that people believed in me. They said, yes, she has been performing earlier and she's been delivering. So what she's doing is the right thing. And even when in the courts, I would go and depose and or help the lawyers. There was a lot of faith. So that faith, the professionalism, that everything helped. My seniors believed in me, and that was very important.
How did you crack the case in 24 hours, or maybe less than 24 hours?
Ma'am, it was exactly 18 hours from the time of the incident. So by around 3:30, we had the bus and the Ram Singh, the main culprit. It was 18 hours and it was very nerve-wracking, so every minute counted. And for us, the moment when we saw her in the hospital and then met the victim, I think हर घंटा हमारे लिए बहुत heavy पड़ रहा था. तो उस हिसाब से अगर देखा जाए तो हमारे लिए था कि these people were, it's a blind case, unknown to the victim. So if they had gone and mixed with the public or gone away and got lost in the crowd, it would have been very difficult for us to catch them maybe a month later. So the quick action of detection on our part was most essential than in anything else.
So what were the roadblocks?
See, like it was a bus, which was just, the description given to us was very vague. It was a white colored contract carriage, red seat covers and yellow curtains. So this is a kind of description which will go on for so many buses. So when finally we got the list from, and it could have been a bus from Noida, it could have been a bus from Gurgaon. So if we just started from the first list, which was from Delhi, so there were 370 such buses and numerous people who were all over Delhi whom we had to verify. And then the clock was ticking for us. So the number of people we deployed to go and verify these people or call these people and verify, that was huge. So all these things, put together, we felt that this was, one major roadblock, that अगर हमने ये 370 buses या अगर वो हम कर लेते, फिर हमारे पास next criteria होता कि हम हरियाणा या यूपी की buses करते, तो this would have been gone into an endless spiral had we not got lucky and our hard work had not paid off.
How many people were deployed? How many teams? How many numbers?
But 41 inspectors, and you can just imagine that if there are 41 inspectors, there will be as many like 5-6 people assisting them. So there were that many. And we were a few handful officers, about 3 inspectors, 1 ACP, and myself, sitting in Vasant Vihar, where we were monitoring the whole thing. So everybody would give their feedback to us, all the teams which went.
Tell me, less as a police officer and more as a human being, or vice versa, do you think Nirbhaya got justice and will her soul rest in peace?
Only thing she wanted was कि madam छोड़ना नहीं, and the other thing she told me was that yeah, I'm so happy that you're on the job and you're going to take care of it. So that these two conversations were like, it was like soul shattering for me, because if a young woman is reposing so much faith in you, and when she's herself in a hurt situation and on the bed and she's lying and she's looking into your eyes and reposing such faith in you, so the responsibility which comes onto you becomes much larger. So I think to that extent, I felt that I have delivered. And when it's the first time when you meet the victims' parents, you hug them and you give them a certain promise कि आप चिंता मत करिए, हम आपको justice दिलाएंगे, हम अपनी सबसे best कोशिश करेंगे, हम लोगों को पकड़ लेंगे. So the 6 days till we had not caught the guy, all of them, it was nerve-wracking, because you couldn't look them in the eye if even one person was less. Then similarly later on, when the legal process starts, but actually 90% of the police battle happens in the court. So a lot of paperwork is there, a lot of legal procedure is there. Like she had got 13 bite marks, so we had got an ontologist to help us. So that this the process of taking a picture of a girl who has been bitten 13 places, getting the measurements straight, getting everything, it's in itself very humiliating and very painful. So if you go through the whole process of legal battle that we had to pitch against these people, I think the whole it's worth it. And I think Nirbhaya जिस तरह की वो smart पढ़ी लिखी लड़की थी, I think she would have appreciated that finally these people got, I mean, they got their fair share of trial, and at the same time they got hanged. So I think to that extent she would have been happy.
So you feel she's resting in peace now, finally?
Yeah, I think so, because despite the fact it's been 7 years for getting the people hanged, but it was indeed a battle that every minute was counting. And yes, of course, in the last 2 years, I think she has it got a little delayed, but I think the justice was finally given.
How did the case affect you personally, and does it still haunt you?
It would have haunted me had the case not ended the way it had ended. During the 7 years, yes. I mean, every day was kind of a living hell, because I would once in a day at least bite my nails, or think tentatively that what if it doesn't work out the way it is expected? Probably will I be able to look in the eyes of the mother, victim's mother, and say ki dekho, I failed, or I got justice. So to that extent, or even my staff, because they all looked up to me. So I mean, it was something like I was risking too many things. So during the 7 years, yes, but when finally it happened, it didn't.
How did it affect you personally? What did it do to you personally?
See, I'm a woman, officer, sensitive. I have a daughter. That time she was quite young, but still I have a daughter. I have a lot of cousins and female family members to answer, a lot of friends. I had a whole school group, and people who were my friends from my service, calling me up and saying, you have to crack this case, you have to do this, you have to do this. So it was too much pressure building up. And there were people who were like close to me in terms of judges or senior officers who knew me and were watching my career grow. They were all very tense. They were all, constantly asking me. So it was kind of a very precarious situation for me. So every decision you took was because I was cutting edge and I was given the freedom to take decisions. So every decision I took was with that rider, that if it fails, it's going to be my failure. If it's successful, it's going to be my success. So to that extent, I think I was very tense initially. And of course, this is something which it does haunt me a couple of times. There are sporadic incidents during that period of 2-3 months when we were cracking this case, and we were fighting it in the court and in the judicial commission that I faced. But apart from that, I think I sleep well today.
What did your daughter say to you while you were handling this case, after you handled it?
So my daughter was very young. She was in the same school, Mater Dei, as I had gone to. So all the teachers probably knew that she was my daughter. So they would ask her. We would keep her away from the television, but she would ask, and how's your mother? She's coming on television every day. She's cracking that case. What is happening? And probably we were not sharing the details with her. So one day when I reached home, she met me and she said, "Mama, I know you're trying to save a little girl's life, and you're doing something very good. So don't feel that you're going to miss. I mean, I'm missing you, and don't feel that I need you. I think you're doing a bigger task." So I mean, suddenly I saw so much of maturity in a 10-year-old girl, that I realized that, oh my God, I mean, like, everything has its effect, and even your children get affected.
You also handled the controversial Ponti case and also the death case of a 2-year-old baby Falak. Take me through some of these.
So, Falak was a very moving case. Just finished a major law and order, and one of the inspectors comes to me and he talks about how a little 2-year-old infant baby had been admitted in the hospital, Ames Trauma Center, and it was badly battered. On her cheek, she had a bite mark. She had injuries on her head, and the Ames Trauma Center immediately took her to the ICU, the baby ICU. So it was really tough. And then the issue is that what case will you register? So I had to call a couple of senior police officers who were working with me, and I consulted them कि ऐसे case में क्या करना चाहिए. So we all decided that had it been an older person and with the similar injuries, what would be the sections? So we added those sections of hurt, and we said, let's start from there. At least there will be an FIR. So I remember one of the senior officers in police headquarters called me and said, "Ki, are you crazy? Every little child who gets admitted to the hospital, are you going to register a case?" So my reaction was कि सर अगर बड़ा आदमी होता तब भी हम रजिस्टर करते. आज ये बच्चा बोल नहीं पा रहा है, so we should register the case and let's see how it unfolds.
How did this case affect you personally? And do you think you pushed it because you are a woman police officer?
Yeah, I think to some extent women are more sensitive towards these cases. But I feel that in the police department, there are n number of police officers who are also equally sensitive, because this gentleman, SHO, who brought this case back to me was also feeling very bad for the child. So I can't say that it is only a woman's perspective, but women definitely have that sensitive side, and when we're at the cutting edge level, they can make that difference. When we track the mother was found in Jhujhunu, had been married off to somebody else, and she was part of a trafficking racket. She fell in, and we got two other children also we were able to trace back. Now, when the case ended, a lot of the media persons and my colleague officers expected me to arrest the mom. But, being a woman, then I realized that her story is more tragic, and it's more of sounding as a victim rather than a criminal. So we, projected her as a victim, and we did not arrest her. So a lot of people took it otherwise, but she was actually a victim of trafficking. Her journey was so traumatic that I'd rather have her as a victim of trafficking than as a criminal. So that perspective, I think very few people will be able to have unless you have your exposure to trafficking, or you understand women, how they feel and at different stages in their life.
One of your first assignments was to raid a brothel. How did you handle it?
When I was training, at the fag end of my training, I was given charge of a police station which had a red light area. It's a very prominent red light area in Delhi. Probably at that age and stage in my life, I did not even know what red light area meant, literally. But when I was doing patrolling, one girl just ran and banged into me literally and said, "Bachao," and मुझे बेच देंगे. So I was shocked, and I was doing patrolling with my guys, and they all said कि अरे मैडम यहाँ चौकी में बैठ जाइए. I said no, मुझे इससे बात करनी है. So they allowed me because they could not say no to me. And then I started talking to her in her language, and her face lit up. She told me the story what she was going through, and thereafter began my journey where I said, okay, I have to rescue another girl that was going to be sold. I collected my staff and went for my first raid. Honestly, it was very scary for me, coming from a good family and all that. For one moment, I was thinking, what will people say if I just step into a brothel and, I'm going to raid or whatever. But people might talk. And I was married by that time, so what will my mother-in-law say or something. But that was just a minute's hesitation. And then I thought that, what if I was in the woman's place? Would I not want to be rescued?
I don't know if you'll be able to give me the exact number, but how many girls do you think you rescued?
See, I was able to rescue a large number of women, but 32 minors was, exactly one figure I remember because they were acknowledged by the double bench of the High Court of Delhi, and I was given a commendation for that. I also created a paradigm shift, whereas earlier they were being booked under Section 8 and made into a criminal, whereas I started asking them, okay, tell me your story from the day when you were trafficked, when you were kidnapped, maybe given a drug. So all those sections which could have been applied, maybe a handful of sections, in addition to the trafficking sections, we would add. And then the bail became impossible. I got a lot of help from the judiciary because they started realizing that I'm on the right track and that I was, doing something good. So that really helped. And it's a big transformatory, experience for me, because that 1.5 month in that police station actually brought me face to face with a lot of corruption that happens in police departments, a lot of bad things that happen in the area which you are not told of unless you are actually going to the field. And going on raids was like, it was like just the moment I get information, we'd quickly plan a raid, and my whole team was very enthusiastic about finding girls. Whereas before that, nobody was interested in doing this kind of work.
Coming to the uniform and its glamour, to reality, what are the harsh, bitter truths?
If what they show in the movies of what a policeman or a woman looks like, sometimes it is a little hard to believe. As real policemen and women, if you ask us, rarely we are throwing off people and hitting them left, right, and center. It's more about paperwork. It's more about how we are binding them down, how we are catching the criminals, how we are making, listening to people and making sure that our people work. So it is a lot of hard work. The khaki for me represents, a kind of a state symbol where they say, if you come to me, I'm going to sort out your problems. And this increases the confidence in public. So that the change in perception that we can happen is only how we carry our khaki, how we work in it, how we, day-to-day working, how we connect with the people.
While speaking about khaki, some of your colleagues have spoken about sexism in the police force and said postings were dependent on a person's relationship with her boss. Do you agree?
Never have I had any kind of this feeling that there was a sexist bond. I think it is more to do with the person-to-person relationship and how you carry on with your professional work as a policewoman. Though I don't think that is true in my case, and I think in a lot of other women's cases.
But would you agree somewhere that this is a male dominated profession, considering that women police officers still wear the uniform that men do?
See, there can be only minor changes to the uniform that we women wear. The uniform in how the men wear it and the way we wear it is the best suited for working in the police force when in law and order or crime or whatever. Because in the law and order you can be pushed, you can pull. So if you're wearing a salwar suit, your dupatta can be pulled. So somebody can pull at your pajama. But this uniform with a belt on your waist, I think it is the best suited.
You were brought up as a tomboy. Was it the reason why you joined the police service?
Honestly, that was not the reason. I think it was just to do with my dad being a very, eclectic person. I was the eldest and never treated like a girl. I was probably the eldest boy in the family. And so I think all that confidence that I have, or being the street smartness that I show in my field, is more to do with how my father raised me as a tomboy. Because of my childhood experience, that definitely the ease of getting into the police force became, much more comfortable.
Let me ask you, what is the stuff your dreams are made of? Do you dream of guns, bullets, blood, or is it about fairies and angels?
It's a very interesting question. Actually, I'm not a fairy or roses kind of person, though I'm a hardcore romantic. But I'd like to be the horses and guns person. But still, I would say if it would be a romantic thriller or romantic comedy, I would enjoy that more. And but no roses and not the frilly stuff, but more of the practical stuff.
So you dream of criminals more than you dream of...
Not exactly criminals, but maybe superheroes.
Okay. You've often, and even during our conversation, spoken about your husband being very supportive. Would you say that he's the man behind a successful woman?
Ma'am, till I got into this service, it was my father. But after marriage and thereafter, it has been my husband through and through. He's been one person who's also my colleague, my best friend, and my biggest advisor.
As a cop, how tough is it to eat chaat in Bengali market or shop in Sarojini Nagar, which are two of your favorite places?
Yes. You see, when you're in your civil uniform, I mean, not in your uniform and your civvies, so sometimes people don't recognize you. Sometimes people do, but I have my haunts on places and jaunts where I really want to go, and I just love going there. So I still go to Sarojini Nagar. I still go to Bengali market to eat my golgappas. So no problem. I mean, to that extent, I would not let the joy of having the golgappas or shop in Sarojini Nagar take away. Just because I'm a cop. So I think to that extent, I really enjoy it.
Were you always firebrand or has age mellowed you? And I'm not suggesting that you are old, but
Like I think I have been a firebrand and I continue to be one. But I would agree to that I have mellowed down, because if you ask me today to do a raid like what I did when I was a nouveau rookie officer, I may not be able to do it. Definitely, I think experience and experiences like the tough cases that I've cracked have actually mellowed me down.
so would you say thank God to that?
Yes, because it's not just firebrand, it's your experience also which really you need in life. You need sometimes to now let other people lead and then guide, because I was, for example, joint CP in the Eastern Range. So I tried very hard not to be the DCP in their place, because it's a very difficult thing for police officers to not start doing anybody else's job and to keep doing your job. So the job which my youngsters, the younger IPS officers are doing, and now I am in a position where I'm going to, direct them or guide them or chaperone them. I don't want to do their job. So it's a very difficult thing to hold yourself back. But yes, thank God, it's their piece of cake, or it is their time to have the glory. So that they should be allowed. It should not be that unka jo share of glory hai, wo bhi aap lena shuru kar do. To that extent, I think we must all mellow down.
And finally, before I let you go, what is that one terrible moment in your career that you regret or would wish had never happened?
I think the Shobit murder case, when I just joined as DCP South, was one incident I wish never happened, because it became so difficult to crack the case. And for almost, I think, 4 or 6 months, we were just thinking about the case or working on the case, and we were working on a lot of clues, and we still could not solve it. So that case still haunts me. It's one case which I was personally very attached to and wanted to work this case out, but it didn't happen. So do feel bad about it.
Yeah, but you could say the same about Nirbhaya. Of course, it concluded, but you could probably draw
Ma'am,
parallel.
there is a very slight difference. There was a lot of pressure on me. If sometimes people, your officers or others, want to put the wrong person and say, blame it on him, and let the court decide later. So in the Nirbhaya case, the satisfaction is we got the right guys. अगर आप गलत व्यक्ति को बंद कर देंगे जस्ट बिकॉज यू फील के ये जो प्रेशर आपके ऊपर है कि हर केस आपने क्रैक करना है और गलत बंदे को भी बंद करके क्रैक करना है, ये नहीं प्रेशर होना चाहिए. आप सही केस क्रैक करो, आप कॉन्फिडेंट रहो. ठीक है, आप हर केस क्रैक नहीं कर सकते, बट जो केस कर रहे हो शिद्दत से करो. झूठे व्यक्ति को बंद कर देना, किसी को ऐसे ही उठा के जेल में डाल देना, I think that is not something which I could live with. In case of Nirbhaya, the satisfaction was we caught the right guys. If we did not crack the Shobit case, but had he put a wrong guy, I would have still said, okay, we worked out the case. But that would have been a false workout. And let me tell you, I would not have been able to sleep.
On that positive note, Chhaya Sharma, thank you very much. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for your time.
It's been an absolute pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much.